Hello folks, this video is necessitated by panic on social media and fear-mongering that's going on. An article by Rachel Savage in The Guardian talking about the Trump administration's message to Congress to increase the refugee cap from 7,500 to 17,500 for the rest of the fiscal year has sent off panic waves and also some false reporting and fake news out there. Let me just reassure people there's a couple things in play here. Number one, the article from The Guardian had a very clickbait title. U.S. claims emergency refugee situation as it admits 10,000 more white South Africans. Now, that's the title in Rachel Savage's story in The Guardian. Now, bear in mind that journalists often don't get to write their titles, same as authors for books. That's often done by editors. So I don't know who's responsible for it, but that's a clickbaity title. It's intentional and has led to some content creators on social media making videos saying the U.S. is calling for the immediate evacuation of South Africans. That's simply untrue. That's simply untrue. There's no basis whatsoever to make that statement. People who are unfamiliar with government are commenting on things they're unfamiliar with. Let me explain. In the article, this is what she had to say. The U.S. government has said that it will increase the number of white South Africans it admits as refugees this year from 7,500 to 17,500. Stop. Full stop. It did not say it's going to increase the number of white South Africans it admits. It said it's going to increase the number of South Africans it admits. So already fake news. We have to call that out. Claiming that unforeseen developments in South Africa created an emergency refugee situation. That is standard boilerplate language in the federal government for this sort of activity. Every refugee situation is a crisis situation. They're unsafe living in a third country, or in this case, unsafe living in their home country. Therefore, it is a crisis and an emergency situation. Standard boilerplate language now being turned into a whole fear-mongering thing by people spreading comments on X, on YouTube, on TikTok. Stop it. Later in the story, she says on Monday, the U.S. State Department sent Congress an emergency notice stating that would take up to 17,500 Afrikaners refugees in the year ending September. Again, I have to call it fake news. South Africans. South Africans are being made on the program. White, Afrikaner and English speaking, black, adopted children, those married to whites suffering from persecution, coloreds, and Indians. Many people are coming over here, predominantly white. So that's fake news. An emergency notice. This is a standard practice. It is not an emergency. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, to report the facts objectively. There is no emergency evacuation for South Africa. The Trump administration is not calling for an emergency evacuation of South Africa. If there was an emergency evacuation from South Africa, we would have a national discussion about this. There would be military on alert from U.S. Africa Command requesting resources from Forces Command and from the Air Force to do this. No such thing is taking place. There is no emergency evacuation from South Africa. That is utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. People who don't understand how this works are commenting on it. Now, you can choose not to believe me. That is your prerogative. But who has been correct in virtually every assessment and every statement about this program since day one? And if I'm wrong about this, then I'll admit it. But there is no emergency evacuation. An emergency declaration sent to Congress does not equal a call for an emergency evacuation unless it's in that statement. Now, that statement to Congress is not available publicly. I've tried to find it. The only information we have is available from the media sources who got that at the New York Times. So that's what I have to say. And this is a problem with people that don't understand the U.S. government, don't understand foreign policy, don't understand the State Department, do not understand the military, do not understand the refugee or asylum process. I, coincidentally, have experience with all of those things. So you don't have to listen to me. Listen who you want to, but I'm telling you to stop spinning up. There is no emergency evacuation in South Africans. No one's being flown out of South Africa on an emergency basis. Not happening. Standard boilerplate language. You don't have to believe me. Do what you want to do. But stop spinning out of control. There is no emergency evacuation from South Africa. It's as simple as that. No emergency evacuation. The White House has not called for the immediate evacuation of Afrikaners from South Africa. We're not even evacuating or removing Afrikaners. We're removing South Africans, which includes Afrikaners. Okay? I hope that's clear. If it's not clear, it's not my fault. I said it in plain, standard, modern English. I mean, I can say it in German if you want, or French. I'll try in Afrikaans, but it won't be very good. The United States is not calling for an immediate evacuation of South Africans or Afrikaners. That's simply not true. Not true. A misunderstanding of information put out by the New York Times. They were accurate in their reportage. From the New York Times, it's like the primary school where you tell the first child, it goes around a circle, and by the time you get around to back to the first person, they have no idea what you're talking about because it's a completely different story. That's what's happening here. New York Times told the story based on sources inside the White House and at the State Department. The next person told the story, next person told, and now we get all the way back here, and suddenly it's an emergency evacuation, immediate evacuation of South Africans or Afrikaners. It's not happening, folks. It's not happening. All right? Cheers.